We're joined by the Deputy Finance Minister here of Spain, Minister Campa. Thank you for making time to come on the show. How surprised were you by the downgrade yesterday by S&P, and have you taken any measures since to try and retain your deficits?
Yeah, well, we were more than surprised. These announcements are always a surprise. Obviously, you never know when they're going to make their evaluation. The thing that was somewhat more surprising to us was their argumentation behind the downgrade, which was based on their long-term growth projections for the Spanish economy relative to their previous statement, which was last February. And they see a deterioration in our growth prospects for the medium term. And that's somewhat surprising because since February, obviously, the world economy has improved, the Spanish economic situation has improved, and so has reflected all the recent upgrades by different analysts on the update on the forecast for the Spanish economy, which have most of them moved their upgrades up, not down.
So, Minister, how much do you think this has to do with the fact that actually the Greek saga is seeing repercussions around the world?
Well, I actually think that probably is not. The timing obviously is coinciding, which is somewhat unfortunate. But as I mentioned before, their argument, which is as it should be, is based on long-term projections for the growth of the Spanish economy. This obviously is very unrelated to the short-term turbulence of the last 2 weeks, I think. And furthermore, the rating still puts Spain on a AA rating, and all other agencies have us at the highest quality of rating, so I don't think there's any issue really in this sense in terms of the solvency of the Spanish public debt.
How will this downgrade actually affect your issuance plans?
I don't think it should affect us at all. We've been issuing regularly. We announce our funding plan as we always do at the beginning of the year. We go to the markets regularly. We went this week to issue short-term bonds of 3-6 months treasury bills, and we're planning to continue with our funding program throughout the year regularly.
But do you plan, for example, more syndication than previously because of the downgrade?
No, I don't think so. We have syndicated already in the past. Also, in last February, we did a syndication of a new issue of a 15-year bond. We'll continue now issuing that bond to make sure it has enough liquidity in the markets. But as I mentioned before, and we don't expect, we have been observing all through our issues throughout the year a strong demand for the Spanish paper, and we expect that to continue.
So nothing has changed, not even considering, for example, issuing in dollars or any other currencies, changing the maturities?
No, I think that the funding plan that we had is being fulfilling. We already announced that we're likely to tap in the markets, in the dollar market as well. We did it last year. Every year we do it. We're likely to do that in the future as well. It depends on just the specific circumstances of the appropriate week or what's more attractive given the market circumstances at any given point.
Do we need today to see the European Union and the IMF actually saying a message of support for countries like Spain and Portugal, saying that they're there if anything happens?
Well, I think that the European Union has already said that. They put together a mechanism, in February.
But they're not doing enough, sir, not even for Greece.
Well, I don't know. The question of enough, it's a question of judgment, Obviously, currently we're expecting, in the particular case of Greece, we're expecting the details of a plan that's being worked out between the IMF, the ECB, and the Commission, the European Commission, jointly with the Greek authorities. We'll have to wait for that plan, which will specify the necessary terms of the package that will be put forward through the mechanism.
So you're comfortable with what's being said at the moment through the EU and the IMF? You think this will be enough to stem all the investors' concern on the markets in the next couple of days?
Well, I certainly hope so. And I think, as I mentioned before, that the Greek situation is particular. Currently, we're dealing with a downgrade in Spain, which is more linked to long-term growth. And for us, the key point right now, obviously, is to be concerned about the everyday activity in the markets, but also at the same time to put in place the necessary measures to guarantee a long-term growth prospect for the Spanish economy that's as sound as possible.
Do you blame the Germans at all for the fact that actually holding Spanish bonds means that now they're almost at a record high over the last couple of years?
No, I don't think we should blame anybody. Actually, I'd rather look at it on the positive side, which, as you say, holding now Spanish bonds of the highest quality by 2 rating agencies, a AA by Standard & Poor's, currently offering a yield that's much higher and as such probably very attractive, for investors relative to any other issue with that kind of rating.
Minister, there's also a lot of concern about the fact that actually the banks are going to have a tough time, will be a lot more careful in who they lend to. Is this a concern of yours?
Well, obviously, the appropriate function of financial markets is always a concern. And for us, the appropriate channeling of credit to the economy is particularly important, given that also we want to re-ejection sector from a boom that we had in the past on the real estate sector to more tradable goods and things in which productivity is higher. That requires funding to these companies, and for that has been a concern. We as government have taken actions over the last 3 or 4 months to guarantee that the channel functions properly and that credit is available for this type of corporations and projects. And we're very, very concerned about making sure that this continues to be the case.
Minister, one very last question. I know you're tight for time. Are you going to announce extra austerity measures to please rating agencies?
Well, we don't announce things to please rating agencies. I think our goal here is to really set down the policies and the appropriate policies to foster long-term growth. And we have set forward in February with the Stability and Growth Program an adjustment plan that, by the way, is not being challenged by S&P in its report. You know, they fully agree with our adjustment plan, but their major concerns with other reforms within the economy that foster growth.
But Minister, how do you soothe the markets then?
How do I see the market?
Soothe the markets.
I think you soothe the markets by putting the appropriate policies that guarantee the long-term growth. I don't think that, because you see markets going up and down in every day, it's completely unpredictable what they will do today. And you can't run a country or prioritize policies based on what may happen in half an hour. You need to think about the long term, which is the good well-being of the citizens.
Minister, thank you so much for joining us.